Amerie. So I'm talking a little low right now because the baby is asleep, and actually I just came back from my sister's birthday dinner, which was really great, and then I was really awake, probably that cappuccino that I had. So I'm really awake right now, and I want to talk to you guys about a couple of books that I read anyway when I was reading them, and I was going to do a Friday reads, but I didn't get a chance to do it before I left and everything, but I was like, I still want to talk to you about it because last time we chatted about books, I was like, my Goodreads challenge has been suffering. But since that time, I've actually picked up a couple of pretty great reads actually in a row. I'm kind of on a roll right now. So I want to talk to you about those really quickly to just let you know how I've been doing with those, and also if you haven't picked them up, I would actually highly recommend these. So let's start with Children of Blood and Bone. Finally read that by Tomi Adeyemi. It was a great ride, very addictive. That cliffhanger ending, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. You know what, I don't like when people say it's a cliffhanger ending, because to me, it's not a spoiler, but it's a little like more than I want to know. So that's one, but let me put these books down on my lap. Okay, so I'm not going to edit this too much because I do want this to go up like ASAP, like maybe tonight. Cappuccino. Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone. You can see that. A great ride. It was a great ride, and I am so glad that I waited a little to read this because book 2 is coming out in March, and that way it's not too long of a wait. So you know how I am with series, I will forget. You've probably already heard about this a million times. It's a Nigerian, West African influenced fantasy, very much like a chosen one story, but it's really fun, really rich, and I had a great time reading this. So that was one. After I read that, I went right into, can't see up my skirt, can you? No. Okay, cool. I went right into Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor, I believe, and I've seen her on a couple of panels, and I really can see the paperback cover. They changed the cover, but I've seen her on a couple of panels, and I wanted to get to this for a long time. I heard nothing but great things. Basically, it's supposed to be a West African Harry Potter. That's what I was hearing a lot. And I was like, okay, you know, you always hear things compared to Harry Potter, but I can say this did give me the same cozy feels as what I got from when I was reading Harry Potter. I mean, the story is really, it's about, when I was reading it, I was like, this is the blend of elements. I haven't really seen things put together this way before. This is about a girl who's Nigerian, comes from a Nigerian family, born in the United States, but moves back to Nigeria when she's like 9 years old. And so she's also albino. And she comes from, I'm not going to tell you that, too spoilery. Essentially, she finds herself in this magical society. And she has a couple of friends, and we learn about this world as she learns about it. So the way that the world building is in this book, we learn everything when she's learning it. But it's done, usually I don't like, say, training montages or that kind of stuff. That's not my cup of tea. Some people love it, but it's not my thing. But this just really worked, and I loved just the way the story unraveled. I loved just some of the slang that they were using. It's very rare where you'll see a fantasy book, and then when they're, like, say, urban fantasy or portal fantasy, it's very rare when you'll see in our real world like Black American slang being used. Just, I don't think you come across that very much at all. And maybe in like Jose Older's work, I'm sure. I haven't read it yet, but I've flipped through a little, just like little excerpts, and actually I'm on hold for the library for Shadow Shaper. But I didn't really see that. And then just to see the Nigerian family, and then just talking about getting spanked and like flogged, all these things that just felt so familiar, but also it's a cozy read. Like, I think the last time I read something that felt like this kind of Harry Potter vibe, besides Harry Potter, was the first book in the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. That was Cinder. And that was giving me Harry Potter feels. Not because of the world exactly, but because the coziness, like the cozy factor. And this has that cozy factor. It has the wonder. The world is very rich. I couldn't really tell what was Nigerian, West African folklore or mythology, and what was completely made up by the author, but the blend was it's just so rich. I was like, I am feeling this. So that was a huge one. I highly recommend this series. I'm glad I finally got to it. I bought actually book 2 while I was reading this because I was like, I'm totally getting to that before the end of this year. So Akata Witch is book 1 and book 2 is Akata Warrior, I believe, and I'm going to be getting into that soon. So then after I finish that, I need to switch things up and go to audiobook because I was kind of like running out of time to really read, specifically in the last few days. So then I ended up listening to Forest of 1,000 Lanterns, which I was so intrigued by when it first came out. It's by Julia C. Dow, I believe, and it's basically a fairy tale retelling the evil queen in Snow White, seeing her origin story, but imagined in an East Asian setting. Very intrigued. Totally was intrigued by the synopsis. But reading, my voice is dry. I drank a lot of water, but I don't know. It was not enough water and then the cappuccino. But I loved this. I was listening to this and I was like drawn in right away. And I was just like, this is freaking awesome. This story is awesome. It actually feels like it could be, like, I don't know, I was reading it also an ebook occasionally, but for the most part it's audiobook. If you have to like, I don't want to say you have to like your characters, this is not for you, because she's not a likable character, but she's very intriguing. Like, I guess I have to say, see, I love Tony Montana in Scarface. I always stop the movie like right at the end. If you've already seen it, if you haven't seen it, go see the movie. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. You know when everyone comes for Tony and he like just has his face, he just throws his face in a pile of blow. I stop around when Gina gets her hair salon and he's with his wife, with Michelle Pfeiffer, and they're like doing all this stuff like dun 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 to push it to the limit, dun 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 dun. He's living the American dream. I stopped the film somewhere around there. In my mind, in my story, in my world, Tony Montana lives on, okay? Because he is the epitome of the American dream. I'm the only one who ever saw that. I never saw Tony Montana as the villain. Tony was just a dreamer. You know what I mean? Like, living the American dream. He achieved that. And I love Tony Montana. Tony Soprano, same thing. Tony Soprano's a jerk. Sometimes it was really mean, racist, a philanderer. But you know what? I love Tony Soprano. Is he a psychopath? I don't really feel like he was a psychopath. I just felt like, you know, he had issues. I just love the villains. It's why I have the villain anthology. That's just my thing. What makes people tick, the line between good and evil, does good and evil exist? That's usually consistent in all my works. I digress. So, reading the story, this is actually, you're following Snow White's stepmother, basically, right? And you see where she goes off the rails, but it was really intriguing. I don't have to like my characters when I'm reading about them. It's despicable characters, as long as they're intriguing, I'm in. Like You by Carolyn Kepnes. Definitely listen to the audiobook if you haven't already. So I just loved it, and the world is really, really rich, huge, very political, but the drama of everything, like the courtly drama, is very mature too. Interestingly enough, I feel like this wouldn't necessarily be a YA novel because you have the young character who's a YA, is it recorded? Good. A YA age, but everyone else around her, they're like in their 30s, older than that, and maybe mid-20s. But they're dealing with like very mature themes, like when you have a woman and concubines and wife and the woman's role, children, and how people are plotting to like position their children in line for the throne, all these things. This very well could be an adult fantasy in my opinion. You have a protagonist, but just like Red Rising, actually Red Rising felt more YA to me than this. This actually felt a little more adult just because of those situations that were happening, but at the same time the protagonist is very much it's a coming of age story, so it fits in both. But it's a fantastic story. I mean, I've been hearing, I guess it's a little, I felt like I was hearing just only great things about it, but when I looked on Goodreads, it does seem to be a little polarizing perhaps, but I found it was fantastic. I'm definitely reading the second book. I'm actually probably going to go back and buy the paperback because I love the covers for book 1 and book 2, even though I already listened to them because I think I just want to keep them in my collection. So yes, my reading game is going strong right now. Just wanted to tell you guys that. I don't know if I'm going to go into Akata Witch or what else do I have on there. I started 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It's actually back there. But I don't know if I'm going to continue that because, at least not for right now. Nothing was wrong with it. It's just I don't think I'm in the mood for it right now. And there are books that I do want to read. The Light Between the Worlds I told you about, I want to read before 2019. Maybe less, but The Light Between the Worlds, or Between whatever it's called, the one I mentioned. I have it like separated over there. I do want to get to that, and then The Diviners I do want to get to. But I'm feeling pretty good, guys. Just wanted you to know that the reading vibes are happening over here, and even though I won't make my 50 books for the Goodreads challenge, I'm doing pretty well, and I'm happy about that. And I'm also going to throw in a manga. I have a manga, so I'm going to do that, and I'm on hold for a couple of the saga issues. So yeah, reading levels are going great, but highly recommend, guys. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor, and Julia C. Dow's Forest of a Thousand Lanterns. And the story is beautiful, and the ending was, I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but just so well done and so beautifully written and so poignant, just like perfect. Perfect. She just landed the ending, in my opinion. So great reading stuff going on, and I actually have my work cut out for me too. I'm going to complete my revisions for this. I can't wait to actually be able to talk to you guys about my novels because I feel like I'm always telling you about writing them and working on them, and I want to tell you about them when there's more to talk about. I hope this is all in focus, guys. I'm like high up on caffeine right now, and I just want to I'm going to go right to the computer and do a quick edit on this and throw this up on the channel just to give you guys a little update before Christmas. And don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Comment below and let me know the books that you're reading. I guess the next 2 books that you'll be reading, because that's, I don't know, depending on how you read. Maybe you'll be able to squeeze in 2 books before the end of the year, or maybe 1 more. Let me know how many books you would like to read for 2019. Mine was 50 books this year. I did not hit it. I may hit 28 or 30, but I'm going to go for 100 books next year. I'm going to just do it. My finger's shaking. I think I had too much caffeine. Like I'm not doing that, guys. I'm not doing that. I mean, I am doing that, but not on purpose. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you hadn't already, and let me know what you're going to read. Let me know how many books are you going to plan on reading, or how many books do you plan to read next year in 2019. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye! Forgive the bun if it's crooked, because I took my sweater off and then put the sweater back on. It's a turtleneck, obviously. I put it back on and I didn't fix it. You know the bun gets, it's just, yeah. Good night.